Welcome to this, I don't know which number it is, but to this latest episode of Hereticus, our Warhammer 40,000 Dark Heresy first edition campaign. We're one player short here in the beginning of the session. I will be joining us later, as I understand it. Anyway, Chris, what happened last time we played Hereticus?
Well, just to make it clear, firstly, last session was session 16, so this will be session 17 we're doing.
Yes, true.
And what happened last time was a lot of fighting happened. We basically got into the meat and potatoes of a massive fight we had in the ruins of an imperial church in the Underhive against a huge number of gangers and their leader, in which there was much fighting on different levels. Everyone did really well for the most part. Medea was perhaps the worst off, considering that she decided to initiate combat while isolated in the heart of the gang territories fort of the church. And although, to be fair, the more lethal of the blows wasn't actually dealt by the gangers, as it turns out. It was dealt by a miscalculated shot from Francesca going into her.
Yes.
And, bolt rounds and all that. But in the end, we managed to make it through. A lot of gangers ended up dead. And thankfully, through the liberal application of the burning of fate points, Medea did survive, barely. And we returned to the Tricorn for her to be taken to the medical center and healed up. Where I can't remember if she was still there when we left off. She might have just gotten out due to some time skipping. But when we got back, among other things, Sister Francesca was beside herself with sort of concern for she was responsible for almost killing one of her comrades. And that's affected her somewhat. It seems she's going through a lot of life-changing things happening in her life in the last sort of month or so.
Yes. Welcome to the Inquisition.
Yes. And Acolyte Trina Holster, once again acting on behalf of the Inquisitor, or so we believe, maybe not, who knows, popped around to see all of us to basically determine what happened, why it happened, and whether or not Sister Francesca deserves all the blame. Because that seems to be the angle that she was going for there. There are many spins on this that we talked about, whether or not it's just her trying to condemn Sister Francesca. She could be evaluating Sister Francesca for a potential leadership role in the future. As you know, the Inquisition occasionally needs new Inquisitors. Yes. But otherwise...
Or she might be looking to put me in front of a court-martial, who knows?
Well, that's the point, is that who knows with her. She's very good at obfuscating.
She's good at being a cow.
That's one way of putting it, yes. Otherwise, yes, that was... I can't remember what happened apart from that in the last hour. I think we left off... Medea had snuck out of the Medici Center to go wander.
Yes.
And Accolon, Francesca, and Tim were all on the firing range practicing and swapping life lessons while there was a space marine further down the range doing his thing very noisily.
Yes, as they are wont to do, these space marines.
For all their ability to engage in precision warfare, unlike the Imperial Guard, they're not exactly subtle things, space marines.
Nope, they really are not.
Oh, I don't know. Take a very subtle bolter shell to the skull.
Well, if it's a stalker bolter fired by a space marine scout, then maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's pretty much what happened last time. I think the bulk of the session was shooting things and burning things and all that, and then we had about an hour or so of fine role playing. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So the thing is, I think we won't start at the shooting range. There's no point in that. but at this point, it's really up to you where you want to be when we start this session. What your character is doing. What would make sense for your characters to be doing as we start up this 17th session?
I mean, I think at some point, at some point, I think the Accolon will have popped along to the quartermaster and asked about the possibility of borrowing a bolt pistol to get in some practice with it, because he wants to progress to the point where he can use a bolt weapon, but he preferred to use a pistol and practice with that on the range.
Okay, well, that's possible. Plenty of bolt pistols to go around, because acolytes in the Inquisition service do love their bolters. So
yes, well, it is a holy weapon in many ways.
Yes, it is. So that's not a problem at all. The quartermaster can fetch you one of those pretty much immediately. He does note that you guys seem to be switching your weapons quite often. It's not a problem for him. It's just something he's noticed, that you seem to go from one weapon to the other rather fast.
Not all of us.
No, not all of you, but certainly some of you.
Yes.
And it is just something he's noticed. It's not a big deal for him, but yeah. You can absolutely borrow a bolt pistol, and you then take that bolt pistol to the shooting range. What about Tim? Is it more practice for Tim? Because as I understand it, that's really his entire life almost is.
I think it is practice, but I think it's spatial practice more so.
Oh, how so?
That he walks around, memorizing locations and coming up with new and creative hiding spots and escape plans.
Oh, okay, cool. So all within the tricorn, or
Yeah.
okay, cool. And Sister Francesca is be right back as far as I can see. So we'll wait a bit to hear what she's up to. However,
I'm back.
Okay, cool.
And,
so the question was basically where do we find Sister Francesca when we start this session?
Back in the library, doing more studies on the Inquisition and methods and different sects and so on and so forth.
Okay, cool.
Any progression beyond her monodominant fangirling?
I wouldn't call it fangirling so much as I would say that at this time she sees it as a necessity. But
Okay. Cool. Well,
82.
yes. So when we start this session, for realsies, we start with Sister Francesca in the library with a
candlestick.
We find Sister Francesca in the library studying some more, when she notices a presence in the library, or rather in the entrance to the library.
Well, she looks up.
It is a hulking figure, rather like the Space Marine that you guys met in the shooting range. Indeed, it is that very same Space Marine.
I get up, obviously, close the book, get up.
As you do that, he enters the library, and when you first met him or saw him in the shooting range, he was surrounded by serfs and
assistants and sycophants. And,
exactly. A whole retinue of people just there.
He wore robes, you said.
Yes.
The symbol on his shoulder pad, if he's wearing his armor, which I'm kind of assuming that he is that the Dark Angels? They usually wear robes.
It is. It is in fact the Dark Angels symbol.
Yes.
I was about to say logo, but I don't think that quite.
No, it's their chapter mark.
Yes, their chapter mark. Yeah.
Well, of course, I don't know, does he approach her, or does he, in general, just enter the library?
Well, so she is beyond him. She's the only one present in the library. So,
okay.
And he notices her.
Yes.
As she stands up and walks over to her with his. Well, he's just by himself, so just he walks over to her, and as he comes over to stand before her, he nods to her. He doesn't. He's not wearing his helmet at this point.
No. Well, she bows her head respectfully. I mean, he is still, she might be of a higher order than most Imperial citizens, but he's on an entirely different level. So, she bows her head and respectfully says, "My lord, is there any way I can be of assistance?"
Oh, I don't know. I was merely heading here to do some research for an upcoming mission of mine.
See.
Would you happen to know, he asks, where I might find some material on the Xenos?
I believe that would be in section F2, and we are in B2, so just further down this hallway.
Ah,
I believe so. You're more than welcome, my lord.
He makes to leave for the section.
Yes,
you've
of course.
And then he turns around and says, apologies, sister. My name is Watch Sergeant Emok. It
is my honor to meet you, Watch Sergeant. My name is Francesca.
Sister Francesca.
Well, yes.
Excellent. Well, he says and turns around. I suppose we'll be seeing each other soon. And then he walks off to the section you've indicated.
Yes.
And at that point, another figure enters the library. This time, a much smaller figure. Trina.
Well, I suppose she had to turn up.
She did. And she also walks over to. She notices the hulking figure as he vanishes into some dark corner of the library, and then walks up to Sister Francesca. Greetings, sister.
Greetings.
As you may have noticed, I've been informed, I've had a wee chat with your fellow acolytes.
Yes, they did inform me of such. I told them not to. I told them, quite frankly, to cooperate with you in any way you required.
This raises an eyebrow, and she says, "I should certainly hope so."
Well, there was a slight amount of reproach on behalf of one of them. I'm pretty sure you realized this yourself.
Yes. I have noticed. Yes.
Well, I simply informed him and the others that you are our commanding officer, and consequently they are to cooperate with you in any and all ways.
That's good. I'm here because I have a few questions for you.
Certainly.
As she sits down and at the table you're currently standing by, And
Yes, well, I remain standing unless she tells me otherwise.
she indicates the chair opposite her.
All right, then. All right, I sit down.
She takes out a data slate and spends quite a bit of time skimming through something on that data slate before she looks at Francesca and says, Have you perchance been studying the various sects within the Inquisition?
Yes, indeed, I have. The book right here next to me is on the. It is a treatise on the principles of the Amalathians.
Ah, I see. That is interesting. So, have you then reached a... Do you know where you stand?
Yes, I do. Although I find many sympathetic aspects to the Amalathian creed at this time, I heartily support their drive for greater cooperation between the various imperial organizations, such as the Adeptus Arbites and the Inquisition, or the Adeptus Terra, and so on and so forth. But I do believe that the monodominants are where I stand at this time. I see no place in this reality, or any other, for that matter, for Xenos or for heretics of any kind. I see no reason to display any form of understanding of their ways. The one single area where I am not entirely convinced yet is their stance on psychers, on the simple premise that without psychers, travel between various systems in the Imperium would be an impossibility without the Astronomicon. We wouldn't be able to navigate.
And where do your ambitions lie, Sister Francesca?
My ambitions at this time lies with serving the Inquisition to the absolute best of my ability. I believe that I am better able to do so by knowing the Inquisition. Further down the line, it is not my call to decide how I may serve the Inquisition. It is the inquisitorial, what is it called? The inquisitorial synod of the Calixus sector, which would make any further decision on where my future with the Inquisition lies. It may be that at some point the Inquisition deems that I have done enough or done too little and send me back to my order. It may be that they see fit to send me on some mission to another sector, another part of the galaxy. They might transfer me to the service of another Inquisitor. I will not know until it happens.
Trina smiles as you answer her question, and when you finish, she says, a rather long-winded and political answer.
Is that not an important aspect of the Inquisition, however?
I suppose it is. All right. I have a few, two questions about the incident down in the Underhive.
Of course.
The first question is, why were you at the church?
I was at the church because we met Medea's connections down there, her family, as it was, or at least her adopted family. And we learned that one of these children had had an altercation with this particular gang, which was of a nature that led me to, quite frankly, suspect that something was going on with that particular gang. And I must say, out of character, by the way, I cannot remember exactly what it was, but there was something in what he said. She would have put it in her report, whatever it was, but there was something there that made her stop and ponder and think there's a problem here, especially when we've found one of them and then got a confirmation that their recruiting practices, at the very best, took the form of a blood cult. Quite simply, they practiced human sacrifice.
All right. Are you aware of the exact number of gangs that operate in the Underhive?
I believe it is in the thousands, but not the exact number, no.
I think in the thousands is adequate. Is this, Sister Francesca, the beginning of a crusade within the Underhive of Hive Sibylus? Can I expect to hear about more attacks of this kind?
I do not believe so, not unless that is our next assignment. We were between assignments, and it is, according to the Monodominant Creed, it is my firm belief that to allow one heretic to survive is completely unacceptable, so we went after them.
Alright. And now that you are aware that there are thousands of gangs in the Underhive, can we allow them to live?
If they are, in fact, heretical, I don't see why they would all be. But if they are heretical, I believe they should be purged, but it may not be my job to do so. It is likely that that will be a job for the Planetary Defense Forces or for the Adeptus Arbitrae.
Alright. And now to the... I have one final question about the engagement itself.
Indeed.
So, after Medea had engaged the enemy in... you entered the church, and you found yourself in a situation where you had to... Well, friendly fire.
Yes.
Yes.
Most regretfully, yes.
Yes. Most regretful indeed. And could that incident, in your eyes, have been avoided?
No. Not after the fight had been initiated, which happened before I entered the church. The idea in going there was for Medea to enter alone, because she fits in the Underhive. And she was to investigate the situation in there, if possible, learn more about the gang and and its leader, if nothing else. And before I know it, she has initiated combat. At which point I entered in order to extract her from the situation. When I entered, she was facing, at that point, I believe it was 7 or 8 enemies on her own, including the man I believe was the gang leader, armed with a chainsword in close combat. And she was losing very badly. I believed that the one chance we had was to take down the leader as quickly as possible, and unfortunately I hit her. It is something I regret very dearly. But I believe I had to take the shot.
Alright.
And indeed, once I did take down the leader subsequently, the remaining gangers began to disintegrate and surrender.
She types something on her data slate, and then she nods and says, well, "Thank you, Francesca, for your candor. I will submit this to the Inquisitor, and I also ask that you and your fellow acolytes remain here in the Tricorn on standby,
Absolutely.
because your next mission is not far away."
Indeed, I shall make sure that we are all ready and able to move out on a moment's notice.
Excellent. She gets up and leaves the library without any more words on her part.
Well, Sister Francesca puts the book back and goes to find the others.
Well, so as she puts as she makes to rise from her chair, a voice behind her says, "She's an odd one, isn't she?"
She is my commanding officer, and as such, I follow her directions, but I do not always understand her. However, I don't believe it is my place to always understand her.
I suppose we don't always have to understand our superior officers, as long as they're...
Foot soldiers don't always have to be privy to all elements of tactics. The Imperial Guard would be a mess if that was the case.
Yes. Most certainly would. Well, it was nice talking to you again, Sister Francesca.
Likewise.
And like I said, I will meet you soon. And
I look forward to it. And she lets him leave.
Yeah.
And
as
I said, put her book back, and then she's going to go and find the others and inform them to be ready, because we shall very shortly be, apparently at least, be informed of our next assignment.
Yes. Well, she does find the others somewhere in the Tricorn. Akalon is apparently working on his bolter pistol skills, and Tim is also somewhere in the Tricorn.
Yes. Well, Sister Francesca would have, on the way, she would have gone by her container of goodies and restocked her ammo.
Yeah, of course. Well, I think you're all gathered then.
Yes. Well, hello. I just had a visit from Trina, who pretty much asked me many of the same questions, including a strange one about what my ambitions within the Inquisition is.
Seems a reasonable question to ask in light of the sheer veracity of study you've undertaken recently.
Well, yes, but maybe. Well, I suppose, but the reason for that is simple. I do believe that I'm better able to function within the Inquisition by knowing the Inquisition.
I suppose that makes sense.
So I also informed her that my ambitions go as far as the Inquisitorial Synod decides that they should go. Thought that was a most political answer. I think she found it slightly amusing.
I wasn't aware that she was capable of being amused.
Oh, quite.
Well, I did not know she was capable of being amused in a way that wasn't at someone else's expense.
May very well have been at my expense in her mind. I wouldn't really know. In any case,
smiles.
In any case, we are informed, or I am informed by her, that we are not to leave the Tricorn because our next assignment may be, well, it will be given to us shortly. And she did also see fit to point out that there are in fact thousands of gangs in the Underhive, and that she was curious as to whether this was the beginning of a crusade on my behalf, which I informed her that it wouldn't be unless that was our mission.
A most political answer.
Yes.
As I also told her, is that not part of the methods of the Inquisition?
Indeed. The Inquisition has never been an organization where one should be led by one's passions.
My friends, I think the best way I can put it is that there is a greater game going on. It is a game in which we are bit players at this time. But I do not intend for us to be easy sacrifices, if I can help it, in order for someone else to improve their standing on the game board. Consequently, the only way to avoid doing that is to play the game myself and hopefully become a bigger piece.
Yes.
Consequently, a lot of political answers seem to be in order.
Indeed. Although your studies have, of course, inspired me to take up my own, if only out of pure reaction.
That is an excellent notion. I see no reason not to.
True. But of course, I am, of course, curious as to whether or not, in the future, should either of us end up in positions where we were to apply our beliefs in the different doctrines of the Inquisition, if they were to be at odds, how would we function?
Hopefully, hopefully in a manner in which the Inquisition and consequently the Imperium is best served.
Of course. Anyway,
Perhaps it would be a good idea for me to learn to read at some point.
If you wish to learn, I would be happy to help you.
of course. I would wish the same as well.
I think I should like that. It might prove to improve my worth.
If nothing else, being able to read and understand the data slate you find somewhere on the person of a suspect might help you. So, yes, she did ask me what my stance on the various sects are, but I wasn't quite able to read her reaction to that. As I have understood it, Inquisitor Dex is Amalathian. I may be wrong, but I believe that is the case. And consequently, I would not be surprised if Trina herself is as well. They have worked together for many years, after all. But
Yes.
there's no guarantee of that.
I don't remember. Has Tim asked in character what these different factions are?
I think, yes, he did. I think last time, or was it no, that was out of character.
Mm-hmm.
In that case, he asks in character what it means to be Amalathian.
Well, it
To
means...
believe that the Emperor has a plan for us all, and that we should allow it to unfold at its natural pace.
And furthermore, that the cooperation between imperial organizations must be strengthened in order to strengthen the Imperium as a whole, such as the Adeptus Arbites and the Adeptus Terra and the Adeptus Ministorum and so on. They must all come together and work together more closely. It is not a It is a rather pure way of thinking. It's also fraught with obvious problems, considering the different viewpoints and the different methods and the different ideologies of the various adepta spread around the Imperium.
And of course,
Let's face it, the Adeptus Administratum can't agree on what they do in any given subsector, let alone across entire sectors or between different sectors, for that matter.
yes.
The Imperium is less united than we would like to think at times. The Amalathians wish to rectify that problem.
Yeah. Although, of course,
I do find that viewpoint a good one. It is not my favorite or preferred one, but I do find it. I do find it to have great merit.
Yes, I've come to feel that way as well. There are benefits and disadvantages, as there are in fact benefits and disadvantages to the philosophy that I believe you are coming around to, Sister Francesca.
There are benefits to most of them,
Of course.
with the exception of the radicals, whom I quite frankly find increasingly difficult to stomach the more I read about them. I can see why it would be tempting to use the tools and methods of our enemies to improve humanity's chances, but it does significantly invalidate the purity of humanity to do so, and in any case, if the Emperor has taught us anything, it is to stand firm in the face of temptation. These men and women don't.
No. I will grant you
anyone consorting with Xenos and demons are problematic, to say the least. I have severe distaste for the fact that rogue traders are allowed to deal with Xenos, but I suppose it is unavoidable, considering that they will often be severely outnumbered. That does not mean that those of us living within the relatively much safer confines of the Imperium proper should allow ourselves to sink to those levels, and it is to sink.
Well, that is the thing about radicals. Although they do present such delightfully novel concepts and even the occasional good idea, unfortunately, they always succeed in wrapping it in such a wonderful bouquet of insanity.
Yes, excellent way of putting it.
The problem is, I find with it, in many cases, it purports to offer an easy solution to a complicated problem, and I think we are all here agreed that they're if rarely or indeed never are easy solutions to difficult problems.
Indeed. And their solutions create other problems. Some of the stories I have been reading would make the hair on the back of your neck stand on end. I can guarantee you there are some truly, truly absurd examples of men and women claiming to still serve the Inquisition while openly cavorting with possessed people. Not in order to kill them, but in order to make use of them as agents, no less. Could you imagine the insanity of allowing someone who is possessed by a demon of the warp to serve the Inquisition?
I think Tim sighs and then says, I believe this is the reason some knowledge is forbidden.
Yes, it is.
Indeed, I mean,
But
I of
in
all
our
people.
position... Oh, sorry, please go on.
No, of course, I of all people should know of that insanity and of the dangers of it. I live with the daily risk of it.
Indeed.
Well,
And not only that, but we have to consider that the risks of doing something like that, you cannot avoid further contamination. Even if the end result is a noble one, which they probably believe that it is, but anything touched by such beings is inherently perverted. You may save a city from a cult. Let's just assume that. Let's just think theoretically. You may save an entire city from a cult venerating one of the ruinous powers. So, you do so by employing 2 demonically infested agents that you send into the city to influence people to turn against this particular cult. Right? This is an example taken from one of the books. These 2 agents come into contact with 50 or 100 people. These 50 or 100 people are then, by definition, tainted by contact to a demonic entity. So you have destroyed a cult and created what? A slow-growing rot?
The beginnings of a new cult, essentially.
Yes, one that may very well be even more insidious.
Yes.
Because they will be aware of what to avoid as opposed to the one that was destroyed.
Indeed.
In any case, we should be ready because I'm pretty sure that Trina is going to call for us soon.
Yes.
I wonder what the nature of the assignment will be.
Good question. The Adeptus Astartes we have been seeing around spoke to me briefly at in the library. He seems to believe that we shall be seeing him shortly, or at least that I will. So
yes, it seems all you shiny swords and power armor need to stick together.
Oh, I am so far beneath the Adeptus Astartes. It's not even funny. There is a wide gap between the Adeptus Auroritas and the Adeptus Astartes. Believe me, they answer to no one but the High Lords of Terra. Remember?
I do, but there are crucial ways in which you do bear remarkable similarities. You project a similar aura of awe and fear among the general populace. The strength of your faith could easily match that of any Astartes, I think. Although, to be fair, many Astartes, as I understand, take a different view of of venerating the God Emperor than we do. Not necessarily in ways that we would consider heretical, of course, but being of his flesh creates a certain...
I suppose that would make a significant difference.
Yeah.
In any case, as I said, we should probably leave here and move to the general area of the briefing rooms.
Yeah.
Just a suggestion.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, firstly, are you with us, Aya? Can you? Doesn't seem like it.
No, doesn't seem like it.
Okay. Otherwise, I would have asked if Medea was recovering well from the injuries.
She snuck out toward the end of last session.
Yeah, she She
So, I
She snuck
absconded.
out.
I
She
need
absconded.
to know, Rasmus. Did you want to say something? Because I think you were caught up.
Oh.
Yeah, you caught up. Cut out 3 times, I think. At least. That's
Oh,
what
I don't know if I cut out or if I just stopped talking when someone else started.
Yeah, that might have been it. That might have been it.
I think just that Sim would say that he'd save all such thoughts for a later point when they were not about to be deployed.
Sure. Whenever he has the time to think these thoughts.
Yes.
Yes.
Hmm.
That does sound like a good plan. Okay, so at some point later that day, you are all summoned to one of the meeting halls. In previous sessions I've described them as rooms, but in fairness, this is Warhammer 40,000, so they are rather large.
Cavernous, yes.
Cavernous halls, really, more than anything, and you meet you go to one of the.
They must be compensating for something.
Yep. I wonder if it's the God Emperor's, ding dong.
I think it's more likely that it's the Adeptus Mechanicus who are probably involved in building these things, and they are, the lot of them are chem gelded, for goodness sake.
I mean,
That's true.
I mean, for goodness sake, just look at their obsession with Toaster Sex Day.
So
Yep.
yeah,
What?
It's a reference to the text-to-speech device series. The Adeptus Mechanicus in that series have a strange obsession with molesting toasters.
Yes.
Joyous?
funky.
Funky indeed. But yes, you all meet up in this meeting hall. You're not alone though, because
Dun, dun, dun.
there's a legion of people in attendance in this room. There's the Inquisitor and her choir of psychers who sing whenever she needs to communicate something to you. There's Trina, and there are a bunch of other people who also look like inquisitorial agents. There's one whose uniform and armor is very similar to that of Adeptus Arbitis, but he doesn't wear any Arbitis insignia. It's all inquisitorial.
So he's an inquisitorial arbitrator.
Yes.
Yeah, he's been seconded to the Inquisition. So
Yes,
yeah.
something to that effect. And
Oh, good. There's at least one Judge Dredd type walking around that isn't corrupt to the core.
And then there's a Space Marine that Sister Francesca met earlier, Watch Sergeant Enoch, and his retinue of people looking after him, helping him. So yeah, there are empty seats for you to sit at this massive table. They're all gathered around, and the Inquisitor, or rather her choir of psychers, indicate for you to sit down as soon as you enter. Really, and I'm going to assume that you do so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Don't think any of us feels like being the edgy rebel today.
No, that's
Oh,
that's really true.
yeah. So, well, everyone's looking at you guys. Really, it's clear that you are the center of attention.
That's rude.
Well, so everyone except the Space Marines, mini servants, their attention is wholly on him.
Yes, must pay attention to Enoch Senpai.
Yes, exactly. So eventually, the Inquisitor does begin to speak to you, or sing to you, or whatever we want to call it. And she basically says, through her psychos, welcome, my acolytes. I am pleased to see you all here. And this includes, this is out of game, this includes Medea. She's also there.
That would make sense.
Yes. I have summoned you to this meeting to brief you on your next mission. As you may have heard, I would be surprised if you hadn't. The piety of Seth has been invaded by enemies of the Imperium. Your next mission takes place on the piety of Seth. You are going there because other acolytes of mine have reported that some of these geometric shapes that we have, that you have encountered previously, are located on the piety. You're going there to find them. That is your primary objective, to find the geometric shapes hidden somewhere on that planet. So, like I said, the piety of Seth has been invaded by rebel guardsmen. No less than 10 regiments from the Centillan Fusiliers have turned against us and have invaded the planet for some reason. At this point in time, at least as I understand it, based on the messages our astropaths have retrieved, it is a war of attrition on the planet between rebel guardsmen and loyal fusiliers. We are almost certain that the only reason for this attack is to create chaos, is to create a scenario for someone else to operate on the planet while everyone else is distracted by this war. There is no other reason for it. We are certain of it. And that is why there is also a Death Watch kill team on the planet. And at this point, the Inquisitor nods toward the Watch Sergeant, and he stands up and looks at you guys and says, "How much do you know of the Drukhari?"
Nothing at this point.
All right.
There should be time to do studies on the way there, but any information would be welcome.
Yes. The Drukhari are also known as Dark Eldar. And we believe, based on what we've seen in and he looks specifically at Sister Francesca when he says this, what we've seen in the Abbey of St. Elena's Mount on the planet. And we are there to hunt them. And that is really our mission there, is to hunt these Dark Eldar. We cannot guarantee that you will not encounter them during your own mission on the planet. And if you do so, you must destroy them with extreme prejudice.
Naturally.
Now there is, and this again, this is the Inquisitor speaking. There is a secondary objective for you while on the piety of Seth, and that is the problem with the Guardsmen, because the loyalist regiments stationed there and who are now engaged in combat with the enemy, they are Fusiliers as well. They are fighting their own kin. They are fighting. It is brother against brother, and we fear that this may be the cause of heresy among some of our loyalists.
So that basically it could lead to further defections.
Yes. And it is your job.
Do we have any leads on which regiments or even companies that may be immediately affected?
We do not. Not the messages we've intercepted have not been that detailed, unfortunately. This secondary objective is purely, let's call it a hunch, a suspicion on our part. There's been no confirmation of this, but as you well know, the astropathic choirs can be somewhat sketchy in their messages.
One question to that.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a commissariat attached to the regiments on Piety of Seth?
Yes, there's.
Then they may have information we can talk to.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But like I said, your primary objective will be to find these items, these geometric shapes.
Of course.
And your secondary objective, while you are there, is to find any indication of heresy and defection among our men and put an end to it. Of course, like you said, or like you asked, there is a commissariat there, and they will let them do their job. But let's see if we can't cooperate with them.
Should be possible, hopefully.
Yes, hopefully.
It should also be said that there is a possibility, of course it's only theoretical, but there is obviously a possibility that the two things are connected. That happened in the middle hive here in this hive, after all. That the heresy there was directly linked to one of these geometric shapes.
Yes. I have no doubt that they are connected in some way. Everything that's currently happening on the planet, or the piety of Seth, is connected. I have no doubt of it. But that is your mission. And are there any further questions? You are welcome, of course, to seek me out if you do have any further questions after this meeting. Before you leave, of course.
Of course. How long until we leave?
Well, as soon as possible. The journey there will be long.
Then there's probably no time to waste. We should probably be going immediately.
I agree. The watch sergeant mentioned an abbey
Yes.
located on the planet. It might be a good idea for you to investigate that location. There are several reasons for this. First, the first reason, and that is where the Dark Eldar, according to Watch Sergeant Enoch, struck first, and made a ruin of the place. But it is also the abbey held numerous important relics, and these geometric shapes might be some of those relics.
And other relics may still be hidden in the rubble.
Yes, and if that is the case, then they are to be retrieved as well. So
could I then ask to have supplied on just on the ship when we are on our way, a complete list of any relics that we know were in this place, so that we have a chance to know what to look for?
Certainly, you can.
It should not do to overlook a finger bone of a saint.
No, that would be bad.
Out of character, what was the name of the abbey that's been...
The Abbey of St. Elena's Mount.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering, because I imagine Akalon will probably be able to pass on some information about various places and things on Piety of Seth.
Yes.
Yeah, this is his home world, isn't it?
That's the point, it is his home world. So that's the reason why he's feeling a bit tense about all this. It's like, that's my home defiling, and I'm going to do something about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In any case, then there's nothing further. We should be on our way to the transport, quite frankly, making a brief stopover for any equipment we need to bring, and then we should go.
Yes.
Hmm.
All right. If there are no further questions, then I think this
No.
meeting is adjourned.
Very well. Ladies and gentlemen.
The Space Marine, the Dark Angel Space Marine, looks at Tim and says, "Might I have a word with you, young man?"
Of course.
Excellent. And he gets up and he indicates for you to follow him.
Tim looks slightly confused, but follows nonetheless.
And I think with that, because it's 8 minutes past the break, really, so I think
Yes.
we'll take that first break now, and we'll
Sounds like a good idea.
Yep.
Yes.
And we'll be right back.